Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Finance and the Accounting Show. And today we have a great guest on. Now, this is a new tool that I have started using, and I'm excited to share it with you because we have one of the founders that are on. And the reason why I really like this tool is because it helped me take the reporting that I was doing for my clients, where it was taking hours per client, to where now we can get the reporting out in a matter of 20 minutes to all of our clients. They get everything that they need, and it has really drastically changed our business. So I'm excited to bring on my guest. So definitely stay tuned for today's episode.
Welcome to another episode of the Finance and the Accounting Show. This is the place to go for small business owners. If you're looking for a great way to understand the finance and the accounting side of your business, you're in the right place. So stay tuned and enjoy the episode.
So without further ado, let me bring on my amazing guest. Anita, how are you today?
Hi, Terrell. I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
I am well. Well, I've been excited about this interview because one is I started using the tool and really learning all the ways that I could, speed up the closing process, because that becomes a big thing for, I think, for a lot of accounting and bookkeeping firms and fractional CFOs, where they're trying to figure out, how do I get my reports to my clients quickly? So I'm very grateful that you guys created this tool.
Thank you so much. I'm even more grateful for having such a fantastic customer. Thank you so much for featuring us. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. So before we jump into the details, for those of the guests that may not be familiar with LiveFlow, can you tell us a little bit about your background? And then I want to talk about how and kind of why you guys started this company.
Yep. So we are quite a fresh startup. We started 1 year ago, during I think the middle of the lockdown here in London, UK, together with my co-founder and CEO, Lassie Kalkar. Previously worked together at Travelet, which is a huge fintech unicorn now, I think valued at $33 billion. So we were in charge of growth and worked with different businesses. And then at some point we realized that small businesses didn't really have the tools that big businesses had. So we worked with the likes of Amazon and Uber Eats and saw the difference of working with those and talking about financial projections and stuff. Lassie himself, he before that started several companies and also struggled with financial management. So we all know that it's very time consuming and error prone and actually not very collaborative. So we came up with this idea and decided to test it out on a few businesses that we knew here in the UK, and realized that that was a huge multi-billion-dollar opportunity. So that gave us this idea of applying to Y Combinator. And we did it just having a few customers and a working prototype, and it worked out. So we joined the winter batch of Y Combinator last year and spent 3 fantastic months there. And actually, it happened that we started to scale in the US. And the first platform that you think about when you scale in the US, it's obviously QuickBooks. So we started with QuickBooks. And essentially, we're building, just to give you more context, a standalone spreadsheet that allows you to pipe all of the financial data into a single source of truth. So, of course, we have QuickBooks, then we add other platforms such as Xero, and then revenue platforms such as Stripe, and obviously banks. But we started with QuickBooks, and it turned out to be a huge use case just for our platform. And whilst building this platform with our co-founder and CTO, Evan, we realized that we needed to build something fast for customers to be successful already now, rather than waiting for the standalone platform. And we decided to build a Google Sheets add-on that sits directly in Google Sheets in the dashboards that you already have. And it turned out to be a huge success. So we started to grow not only on the coasts, but also across Middle America. So we have a huge following in Colorado and Ohio and other states. And it's growing organically because people really love the product. So what it does now, it allows you to connect your QuickBooks accounts without multiple logins and logouts, just in one go. Create your custom dashboards and pipe the data in real time without setting things up from scratch.
Nice. I love it. It's very interesting, like I said, when you talked about, just starting the business and the standalone tool, but really kind of saying, okay, how do we get our customers or potential customers a solution that they can start using fast? And that was one of the things that I really liked about it, because it wasn't like I had to buy this extra software, download this, or have to learn this new language. It was very simple to just, like I said, add the add-on in Google Sheets, and then to be able to just pull the data in to where I was just like, man, this is very impressive. I really like it.
Thank you.
Now, one of the things that, one of the challenges that came up for a lot of businesses that, I've talked to or interviewed on the show, I mean, we've, in the past, probably 20 months, we've interviewed over 400 business owners and entrepreneurs on the show. And one of the things that they talk a lot about is that being able to just get access to the reports and just being able to access the data. So when you guys started seeing, testing it with some of the prototypes and some of the businesses, what were some of the responses that they had when they saw how the tool worked?
Yeah, I think the first thing that we decided to release was the P&L report. So that's something that each of the business owners needs. But the interesting case about business owners, they typically look at this report once a month. And there was no urge for them to use the product on a daily or weekly basis. So the learning curve was not that steep. And we had to wait some periods of time to actually get this valuable feedback to understand which feature to release next. And it happened that someone's just decided to spread the word across the audience of accountants, fractional CFOs, financial managers who manage multiple clients in one go. And that was just a fantastic time saver for them. So the initial feedback was just overwhelming, and people were just shouting off the rooftop saying that it's fantastic. On our reviews, you can find all of this like Capterra or G2 or Google Marketplace, those initial customers who were just very happy that someone came up with this idea to build it for them. So the actual audience who is very active was among this audience of finance professionals working independently, as for now. So then these customers decided to just suggest a few features, and that of course became applicable to many use cases that allowed us to scale the product efficiently. So these were the initial thoughts from our customers.
Nice. And that's one of the things that I really did appreciate was like when I started using the tool, like someone from the team reached out to me. We talked about it. They sent me some emails of some use cases, and I kind of dived in, and I was like, it'd be nice to have, the general ledger data. And within like 2 days, someone emailed me and said, hey, here's how you can use the general ledger data. And I was just like, man, this has been saving me a ton of time because, over the past 2 months, with my fractional CFO firm and the bookkeeping clients, we've doubled in our clients in the past 2 months. And I was just like, I can't hire VAs that fast to pull this stuff manually. So the tool came at like the right time to where it's just like, okay, all right,
Fantastic.
we can manage the massive growth that we're having. So again, like I said, I do think the tool has some very great use cases. And, that's one of the things that I wanted to dive into as well as some of the use cases. We can do a screen share so that people that are watching can definitely see some of the use cases for the product, because, it's one thing to hear it, but I think it's another thing for them to be able to see it.
Yeah, cool. So let me then share the screen and take it from there.
Absolutely.
Can you see it now?
Yep, we can see it.
Cool. So we have a standard spreadsheet from Google. There is nothing unusual about the spreadsheet. Once you set up a LiveFlow, so you just go to the Google Marketplace and install LiveFlow. It takes a couple of seconds. Your LiveFlow will appear under extensions here. So in this extension, you will see a few options, and we'll start from scratch. And I'll show you how you can use the product in 3 big use cases that we see on our side. So we'll start by creating a report. We click here. Then you will see that we have several tabs. And the first thing, of course, is just to connect our company. So right now, I have only one company connected, which is LiveFlow. You can connect as many companies as you wish in one go, just clicking this button and just being redirected to QuickBooks. So once you click it, you will have a window that would suggest you to authenticate the app. And then once it's connected, you'll just be redirected back. So it also takes like a couple of seconds. So once connected, you see the confirmation message, and then you will be able to choose the report that you would need to pull. So here we can start with the standard P&L. We choose the accounting method, we choose the date range, we choose how we want to display columns, and then we can set up additional filters. So some of our customers prefer to filter the reports by class so that they have different tabs for each of the class or departments in this case and track it separately. And then you can apply any other filters of your choice. And once you do this, you can create a live report. So what it will actually do, it will create a tab that will be refreshed with real-time data as soon as you have new entries on QuickBooks. So we can collapse this window and we can just move it across the screen. And then basically you can see the company, the time that you prefer to look at, and then the columns, the accounting method, and the currency. And then the time step when it was refreshed last time. So obviously we don't have much happening in January right now, but of course, as soon as you have more data, it will appear on right here. What else we can do here in the add-on? We are able to manage our reports. So as promised, I will show you a few use cases. And here you can see just the overview of all of the tabs that I pulled. So some of them were pulled a little bit earlier, some of them were pulled today. And these tabs are either live, or you can, of course, switch them off, and it means that they will not be refreshed in real time. What is interesting here is that you can set up an auto refresh that will just pull the new data for you every hour or when you open the spreadsheet. And in this case, we'll always ask you whether you want to see the most recent data. And then you can disable it if you just need the timestamp with your report. What's also interesting, we learned that people don't want to go back to QuickBooks and take a deep dive into numbers. What people really want to do, they want to have a deeper look at their transactions and drill down into numbers. That's actually the name of this feature. So to use the drill down feature, we just need to choose the cell that has some data to drill into. So I think it will be interesting to look at this number in particular. So we just hover it over, and then in the drill down tab, we'll be able to see all of the transactions that went there. So this way you can just filter the data, look into the numbers, analyze them without leaving your spreadsheet. So that's the initial overview. Do you have any questions here?
Well, first one was when you roll through the list of the different types of statements that you can pull. Now, when I started using the tool maybe a month ago, there weren't as many. Like if you go back to the create report,
Yep.
in that list, are you guys like the choose a report? Are you guys constantly adding like more lists? Because when I started using it was just the profit and loss detail, and the balance sheet. But more are being added. Are there more that you guys have in the works that you're looking to add?
Yeah, absolutely. So these are the most popular reports. So as mentioned, we started with P&L, then it was balance sheet and cash flow, then detail, and more and more and more. And that all comes from our customers. So the good part about LiveFlow that we are very early stage, meaning that we are all ears, and we are more than happy to hear your feedback and just build something for you. You have a unique opportunity to influence product decisions. So we are adding more and more reports as we speak, and we have obviously a huge list of those to come.
Awesome. I love it.
Cool. So should we take a dive into the reports that I have here for you and the use cases? Should
Absolutely.
we? Cool. So I'll just remove the sheet so that we don't have any confusion here. So let's get rid of the sheets, and then, okay, we go back to our first step, which is called cell reference. So what we learned after working with multiple accountants and CFOs is that typically they prefer to set up their own dashboards that are relevant to a particular client. So what it means that most likely you would want to have a cell reference that would just summarize particular cells or use a particular formula to see your own metrics. So someone tracks, let's say, LTV versus CAC. Someone who runs an e-commerce shop wants to see e-commerce separately from retail, and you have your own way of reading numbers. So we understand that, and we built the function that allows you to reference cells without actually breaking anything. So it means as soon as you have a new entry from QuickBooks, your new accounts, new line items will appear in the report and the cell reference will not break. So what I did here, I referenced the sum of cells C10 to C21. And now I will just refresh this report with the most recent data. Please look at this cell, and this cell will change its value. So you see the sum, we go back to Manage Reports tab, and then we just update the cell reference tab. So we can do it just here. So you see we referenced the cell, we populated the column with the data, and we haven't broken anything yet. And it shouldn't break. So what is also interesting, you can, of course, change the formatting of the cells. You can add new columns, and we will remember the movement of those cells. So it's still referencing the same cells, and as soon as you have new rows, it will just summarize these new rows and will update your totals. Right?
Awesome.
Cool. So let's move on to the next one. That's something that I really love. So what we learned is that people don't want to go and update their numbers over and over again. So the way to escape this and to automate your stuff is just to build the future P&L. So the future P&L is the report that will be looking ahead, let's say till May 2022, and populate your columns with the most recent data. So the idea here is very straightforward. I'll show you how you can set it up from scratch. You choose the P&L, you choose the time range, which is custom, and you choose the end date somewhere in the future. So we can look, let's say, till the end of 2022. It will be here. And then we create a live report, meaning that, again, as soon as you have new data, it will be just pulled and streamlined into this spreadsheet. So it takes some time to create it, just a little bit longer because it looks this data. So we have a new tab. You see the most recent timestamp. You see the time, the date range, and then you can see that, of course, obviously it's now empty. But as soon as you have that data, it will appear in this tab. It's also useful if you want to just add additional tabs. If you want to look into budget versus actuals month ahead. So you can put, let's say, budget for March 2022, and you can provide your values here, and then you can track, let's say, variance. You're free to do so. So just add another column, and then it will just do the job for you. And you can, of course, edit it the way you want it. It's totally yours, right?
Nice. So adding the columns in there won't interrupt the, like, so right now in column E is where March 2022's numbers will populate. So by adding extra additional columns in there, that doesn't throw off the connection back to the QuickBooks?
Yeah, it remembers pretty much everything. So if you wish, we can just pull another report, add a column, and I can just go directly to QuickBooks, add an expense, refresh the report, and this expense will be added without breaking anything. You can do that.
Nice. You know, that was one of the things that I will say was an impressive feature, because I was on with one of my clients and we were talking through their reporting because they wanted to get weekly updates. And so I have some of the bookkeepers on my team that are updating they're updating QuickBooks weekly. And as I was talking with the client, we were on Zoom, and he was like, hey, so how often does this update? And I clicked the refresh button like while he was talking, and he was like, oh, it updated that quickly. And I'm just like, yeah, that used to take me like hours having to manually create this, to where I think that real-time update is an amazing feature. So that is awesome.
Thanks so much. I'm flattered. So I think we're quite clear on that. So let's take a look at the most interesting use case, which is a consolidated P&L. That's something that takes hours of work, and it's really error prone. So the idea here is just to build a formula that is called index match. So you can see it here. I will build it from scratch right now, which will just reference your entities and just show your data consolidated, and you can switch between months and see all of this just populated for you. right? So let's create this from the ground up. So basically, all we need to do is just add a new tab. Here I just pulled some entities, and the difference between these entities that there are additional expenses that I added. So here in the entity 2, I had one more expenses added. So the idea here is just to copy the chart of accounts and make sure that it is the same across both of the entities, and then pull the data for both of the entities and have the sum for both. So we start first of all with the date. In this case, we need to create a data validation cell that would reference all of the month that we have. So in this case, it's January to December 2021 plus total. So to set up this reference, we'll just, let's give it a name, Consolidated Panel demo. We just say data, and then we choose data validation, and we choose it from a range. We go to the validation tab and choose all of this month, and then go back. And what is really important is just to have the right format. The format in this case is plain text. Why plain text? Because we'll be pulling data from QuickBooks via API, and we need to make sure that when we refresh this data, it's exactly the same format, so that Google Sheets can match the data on the format as well. So here we can just choose one of the month, and the next step is just to copy and paste the chart of accounts. So this chart of accounts is a little bit bigger, so we go and paste it and insert it right here. And then we need to have entity 1 and entity 2. And then our next step is to write the formula that will just reference first one entity and then another one. So we start the formula with if error, and then index, and we index all of the values in this spreadsheet. So we take all of it, go down, and this will be an absolute reference. So once indexed, we match it on the name of the first account in the consolidated P&L. So in this case, it's income, and we need to make sure that we have an absolute reference to the column. So say index match, and then we need to match the accounts themselves. So we go back to entity 1, go to all of the accounts, and we choose all of the accounts here. And it's also an absolute reference. Once done, we need to make sure that that's an exact match, and we just type 0. We close the tab, and we match it again. And now we need to match the values on the month. So we go back to our consolidated demo, choose the month, make an absolute reference, and then now reference again all of the months from this tab. So we choose them here, and that's an absolute reference too. And we put it as an exact value match, and we close all of the parentheses. So let's check entity 1. This cell range match on B6 entity 1. Okay, so this should work. And then, yes, exactly, we pulled all of the values. So we pulled all of the values, and then we should just format it and put it into dollars here. So now we have all of the values from entity 1. We can, of course, go back and check the month of April. And we will see exactly the same values, right? So as soon as we have new entries for any of the month, it will just be updated in the consolidated P&L as well. So we'll do pretty much the same for the entity number 2. And then we can have total here. So all we do, we just type the same formula, if error, and then index. We index all of the values real quick. And then it's an absolute reference. And then we match it go back to the Consolidated Panel demo, and then we match it on the account name here with the absolute reference to the column, and then all of the account names from the entity number 2. I hope this is helpful. Many people, of course, know this formula.
No, I think this one is very helpful because I will say for me, this was one of the use cases that has been, a phenomenal value. Because I have a couple clients that have multiple entities within their business structure. So they have, separate QuickBooks accounts. And, prior to this, there wasn't I guess you would say a user-friendly tool, because there have been some other apps that I looked at, that I tried, to where I was like, this app didn't really give me the consolidation in a user-friendly way, and it didn't allow me to be able to customize the dashboard. So like I said, there are some things that stand out to clients more than others, some things they wanted to zero in on. And then also I think the drill down feature. So I do think seeing this will be helpful for a lot of bookkeepers and accountants and fractional CFOs, because, one of the things that I missed about working for large companies like General Electric and other Fortune 500 companies that I've worked with is, we had, very expensive tools to do stuff like this. But when you're a smaller firm, you don't necessarily have the, $250,000 plus the IT team to build something like this, to where this isn't I guess you say, for lack of a better term, out of the box tool that you can use. And it leverages some of the same skill sets that, finance professionals have developed in Excel, but it allows you to connect it with all of the, the technology and the real-time updates. So I think this is amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I finished building the formula. So essentially, I just repeated the same steps as we did for the entity number 1. I pulled the numbers for entity number 2. You can see them all here. And then, of course, there's something extra. You see new expenses that were added to entity 2, so that we have the chart of accounts that references both of the entities. And now when we want to switch between months, we'll be able to see all of the numbers updated and reflected in the table.
Nice. And I would say for all of the bookkeepers and fractional CFOs that are listening, a tool like this, what this one allowed me to do with some of my clients is where when they wanted to see a previous month, and now the tool is built, they can go change it themselves. Like, I don't have to get on the phone and answer every single call, to where with a tool like this, they could be able to change it from month to month. They can go back and see history. They feel more empowered to actually run and manage their business, to where it allowed us to be able to scale so much more. So thank you so much for going through this use case.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Anything else, I'm happy to answer. Just let me know.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I want to go back to the full screen of us. So one of the things that that you mentioned about is, like, with being such a young company and you guys are earlier in the process, if people have questions or they have different, updates or things that they would like, or suggestions, how do they get that information to you? Like, how do they get in touch with the company to let you guys know, hey, it'd be nice to have this?
Yeah, I think we are huge fans of very quick and efficient communication. So we do love to talk to our customers daily and learn from them. So we add our customers on Slack. We create a channel, so you actually have one with us, and we really listen to your feedback. And whenever a customer faces an issue, if there is one, or an idea comes to this to his or her mind, they would just throw it in us directly, and we respond within seconds, not hours, as you would have in a corporation. So that's probably one of the things that helps us to build really deep relationships with customers and make sure that we are helpful at any point of time.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Anita, thank you so much for being an amazing guest. Thank you for doing the walkthrough. I'm definitely looking forward to sharing this with others, because I do think there are a lot of bookkeepers, accountants, and CFOs that are trying to figure out this solution for their small business clients. So thank you so much for being an amazing guest on the show.
Thank you so much, Terrell. My pleasure. Thank you. Talk soon.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Finance and Accounting Show. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend, because you know a business owner that could definitely use this insight. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on the notification bell so you get all the updates when we release